Hello, what's going on, guys? Let's see here. Sorry, Miss Lorenzi just sent me a message, so I'm just reading it on my phone. Blah, 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 blah. I'm just going to respond to this. It looks like it's just you, Emily, unless Hannah. Oh, yep, Hannah just popped up on my feed now. So it's just you and Hannah again. I guess you guys are the only ones showing up. I don't know. It's going to affect their grade, especially in the fourth quarter. I'm assuming that this is what I'm going to assume they're watching the videos on their own time. And if that's what they're doing, that's fine because it's not a requirement for you guys to show up to the live videos. So I'm just going to assume they're watching the videos on their own time, and so be it. Some of the work's being turned in, some of the work's not being turned in, and we'll just go through there. Hey, Ethan's here today. He's just not showing up in the feed yet. So we got 3 people today. Yeah, Ethan, yesterday we only had Hannah and Emily. And I think the day before we only had Hannah and Emily. So it is nice to see a new face. So we are going into all that piecewise function stuff. And I guess I'm going to do a couple warm-up questions from the last lesson just because, I mean, for the people that are in here, I think you guys are going to be okay with it, but if anybody is going to come back and watch these videos, I want to make sure that you guys are going to be okay. So if you guys take a look at, we'll start off with part A. Part A is saying that you have that function and they're asking you to solve for f of 5. So really, all that's going on is I'm asking you guys to take that 5 and plug it in for x. And that's it. So all I'm going to do is substitute it, and then I am going to simplify it down. I'm going to do it all by hand. Obviously, you can type it into the calculator to find the answer. But if I do it by hand, this is going to be 16 to the 1/4. And actually, I don't know why I put the parentheses in. We don't need the parentheses there. So if we have 16 to the 1/4, if you're doing it by hand, you have to turn it into a radical like we did the other day. So this is where we use that phrase down and out, where you're just taking the number that's on the bottom of the fraction and you're going to move it to the outside. You're going to put in your radical, and then the inside is what's left over, which is just 16 to the 1st. And now you're just doing the 4th root of 16, which it's just asking you what number can you multiply 4 different times to get 16, and that answer will be 2. Because if you do 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, that will give you 16. Okay? So that was just doing simple substitution and doing review with the down and out. The next one's talking about domain, which would have been like the last question we did on the lesson 6 notes. When you're doing the domain of a radical, what you guys have to make sure to remember that domain, first of all, are the x's. So they want to know all the x's that will work in this radical, and we said the other day that you cannot have a negative under the square root. So what we're going to do is we're just going to focus on that 12 minus 4x. And since it cannot be negative, what we're going to do is make sure we say that it has to be larger than 0. Because it has to be a positive number. Positive numbers are always bigger than 0. Holy cow, everybody's showing up now. We got 9 people in here now. Now that we know it's greater than 0, we also just have to remember it's also going to be equal to 0, because it's okay to have 0 inside of a square root. So now I'm just going to solve it out and get x all by itself. Why does ours not have... You don't have 12 minus 4x? What do you guys have? Yeah, what do you guys have under? Is it just Hannah, or does somebody else not have that either? Hannah, if you could email me what you have so I can look at it to make sure that we're doing something. Yours is just blank. It didn't not go through. I don't know why it didn't go through. I guess write it in. Sometimes when I change the lessons to PDFs, it sometimes can go haywire and it just kind of deletes, and maybe that's what happened. I don't know. I downloaded it and it came through no problem though. We have it. It's just in the wrong spot. Same on homework 7. Really? Okay. Weird, I guess. I don't know what to tell you guys. Anyways, if I finish solving this, I'm going to have negative 4x is greater than or equal to negative 12. Yeah, it's really weird that it did that. That's bothering me. And now to get x all by itself, I just have to divide both sides by negative 4. So the 4's will cancel out. I'm going to have x, and I'm going to have a positive 3. We just have to remember anytime that we divide by a negative, the symbol gets flipped around. So it becomes less than or equal to. Oh, it just like bumped it over here. Huh. Did it throw it under part A on yours too, Hannah? Oh, I don't know why it did that. Interesting. It's because I have the cool iPad and your guys' iPads is not that great. So the last thing we got to do is just put in the squiggly brackets. So now that we got x is less than or equal to 3, I know I'm going to have x with that vertical line we did in yesterday's lesson. And then we have the x is less than 3. And then I'm just going to close the squiggly bracket. So again, in English, this just means that x, or all x's work, but x has to be less than or equal to 3. So it's all the x's that are less than or equal to 3. Okay. So does number 1 look okay then for you guys? Does that look the same? You did? Oh, that... Okay, you said you just emailed me. I'll open it up on my computer and I'll check it. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, it threw it over. I wonder why it did that. That's really weird. Okay, but it looks like the rest is okay. What the heck? My number 2 is on the first page, but your number 2 is on the second page. I don't know. I don't have answers. All right, well, we'll just go with it. All right, so if you guys look at number 1, I'm only going to do 1 and 2 with you guys. Those are both piecewise. Number 1 is graphing it. Number 2 is going backwards and finding the equations. And then we'll call it quits for today, and then we'll do the second part of 7 tomorrow, and that's it for this week. So the only 2 homeworks, the first 2 homeworks that you guys will have going into quarter 4 is homework 6 and homework 7. I said yesterday, for the people that were not here, you guys are, because I want you guys to focus on the whole graduation portion, since you guys are all seniors, I want to make sure that you guys are getting English and social studies done, or economics or government or whatever class you're in. I've already talked to Foley. That should be your main priority. So instead of giving you guys a ton of work these upcoming weeks, I'm going to try to average it out to be about 2 homework assignments a week for you guys for math. But yeah, the big thing for you guys is making sure that you guys can graduate. And Math 12 is not a course that you need, but I still have to give you enough so you guys have the required amount of credits to graduate high school. Okay? So, that being said, graph this function. This is a piecewise. There are 3 pieces to this piecewise function. And you guys may recall doing this in the past. Maybe you don't. I don't know. So, what I'm going to do is I am going to pretend the little if part is not here right now. Now I'm going to cross it off right now, but I'm going to erase this red line. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to graph the 4, the 5, and the 6. So I'm just going to graph it, and then we'll talk about what those intervals are. And Hannah, I think you're right. That 12 minus 4x bumped it down for you guys. So first of all, before I graph it, I need to make sure that you guys remember f of x is really the same thing as saying y. They mean the same thing. So the three graphs that we have to do is y equals 4, y equals 5, and y equals 6. So we don't have an x and y axis on this grid, so I'm going to draw them in. And I'm just going to say it's the edges of the graph. So I'm going to say this is my x-axis, this is my y-axis. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to graph all three of those. So I'm going to graph y is equal to 4. So I'm going to go up to 4. And actually, I should keep the line a little bit thicker so it's easier to see. So I have y equals 4. I'm going to draw a line all the way across. I also have y equals 5. So I'm going to go up to 5, and I'm going to go all the way across. And I'm also going to draw one at 6 all the way across. So if I just were to ask you to graph these lines, we have 6, 5, and 4. But the reason why this is piecewise is because if I were to ask you if those three lines create a function, it wouldn't work because a function has to pass the vertical line test. If I were to draw a vertical line, it's going to cross all three of those lines and it makes it not a function. So we use piecewise functions so we can break them up and make them functions. So that's why I said I was going to erase this red line that I just put in here, because now we have to do the second part of the question. So why did I write 3? I even said the number 4 and then I wrote 3. I don't know why. Yeah, thank you, Hannah. I don't know why I did that. So anyways, if we look at the first part up here, it says that the answer's 4 if 0 is less than or equal to x and less than 2. So on my line, it says 0 is less than or equal to x. So this portion right here, I got to do it a little bit smaller now so you guys can see my writing. This part right here just means it is a closed circle. So what I'm going to do is go over to 0 on my 4 line and put a closed dot. As far as this interval, it says we're going all the way to 2. So I'm just going over to 2, but this time it doesn't have the line underneath it, so it is an open circle. So I'm just going to put an open circle at 2. The line is only allowed to go between those two dots or those two circles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the eraser and I'm going to change it to partial. And I want to erase the part of the line that doesn't matter. I don't care about any of that blue line that came after, and I just got to make sure that's an open circle. That would be the second part to the first equation because we only want a piece of that line. That's why they call it a piecewise. Now I'm going to do the second part. So if I do the second part, it says that we're starting at the number 2 this time. So we're starting at 2 and it's less than or equal to. So once again, it's going to be closed. But I'm going over here to 2 and I'm closing it. And it says that we're going all the way up to the number 4. Where did my closed dot just go? It was there. All right. So it's closed. And we're going all the way over to 4, so I'm going to go 2 spots, and that's going to be open. So again, this line is only going to work between those 2 dots. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take out my eraser, and I'm going to erase everything that is not on that line. I erased part of my y-axis, and it's going to bother me. So I'm going to color it back in. So now we just got to do the last one, and the last one says you're going to be between 4 and 6. So I'm just going to go over to 4. So I have 6, I go over to 4, put a closed dot at 4, and then I'm going to put an open one at 6. And again, I'm just erasing the part that's on the outside. We have now created a piecewise function, and if you guys were to do the vertical line test, it will pass. And the reason why it passes is because now you have open and closed circles. So if I were to draw in my vertical line right here, it passes because it goes through an open and closed circle. It's only crossing once. Okay? So I don't know if you guys remember doing that. We did some piecewise functions at the beginning of this school year, but it was a while ago. And there's been kind of, a lot of stuff going on since. I might not even do... I might just save the second one for tomorrow and just leave it. We've already been going for 20 minutes. I'm just, like I said, for you guys, I'm trying to keep these lessons short and sweet. I might just leave it right there. I'm okay with that. Yeah, so what we'll do is tomorrow we'll do question number 2, which is just going backwards and creating the equation. And then in number 3, this one is just solving it algebraically. And when you solve it algebraically, it's just plugging the numbers in for x, and you just have to determine which number you're plugging, or which equation you're plugging them into. So we'll do that tomorrow. It should be like another maybe 15 to 20 minutes. I mean, this lesson, it says that I've been live for 20 minutes, but really we've only been actually teaching for maybe 15. But that's all I got. All right. You guys have any questions for me? I mean, I can. Do you guys want to go up to Tractor Supply? We just take them with us.
That's true. You can do that instead.
Okay.
I said I'd take a potty though.
All right. My wife's talking to me in the background. She wants to go walk Archie. So we're going to go take him for a walk right now because it's actually pretty nice outside.
He hates his collar. He does not want it to be on.
What are you dressed as?
I'm cold.
You're dressed as like a celebrity that's trying to hide their face.
Hi. Look at his little face though. So cute.
Oh my gosh. If you guys want to, tomorrow I'm zooming at 1 o'clock. And you guys come down and ask any homework questions that you guys want. And if you're somebody that is afraid to be on webcam, you can always just come in with the webcam turned off. If you don't even want to talk, come in with you could come in on mute and you could just talk and chat. So you could just message me. You could send me a private message asking me to do a question. So it's up to you. If not, just shoot me an email. All right. So I'm going to go take that little guy for a walk. I hope you guys have an awesome evening, and I will see you guys tomorrow afternoon. See ya.